The rap battle between Drake and Kendrick Lamar went on for about 7 weeks, and there was even 10 years worth of a subliminal Cold War going on between them. But now it finally seems like the dust is settling, like the smoke is clearing. So the question now becomes, for most hip hop fans, what's next for Kendrick Lamar? What's next for Drake? What else might we see from this whole feud? And we're going to be talking about all of that in today's video. So make sure to smash that subscribe button if you're new here and hit the notification bell to never miss another video from us. But let's get into this, because a lot of people are still wondering if this battle is really over. And what we do know is that Top Dog from TDE went out on May 10th and tweeted out saying that the battle was over. And then about 2 days later, on May 12th, Drake confirmed on his side that it was over as well by putting up an IG story where it's showing one warrior fighting off like hundreds of warriors. And the text read, "Good times, summer vibes up next." And I feel like a lot of people took that as Drake sort of waving the white flag, but to me, it more so sounded like after the Hard Part 6, we knew it was over, just because of how deflated Drake sounded on that record and how much defense he played throughout it. So what's your take on it right now? Do you feel like we might get more diss records, because there was rumors of Kendrick having more in the chamber or Drake still cooking up? So do you think it's really said and done?
I think it's said and done. And I believe Academics also got on stream and he had said that he thinks it's over because there's a lot of stuff going on in real life with Drake right now. If you guys have been paying attention to the news and you guys know what's going on, obviously there's a lot of stuff happening to Drake personally that's even bleeding outside of rap. So I feel like it's probably not the best time for him to get into this battle, and there's probably other priorities on his list. Not only that, but when you look at the situation itself from a rap battle standpoint, we put out a whole video kind of dissecting and doing the recap, and it's over. You know, it was over from the moment that the Hard Part 6 released, and I feel like the community's kind of over it at this point, especially of the amount of tracks that we've gotten. I feel like maybe people would still be intrigued just because of the shock value, but we already got so much material. It extended for over a month and a half. I feel like what we got was what we got, and I feel like it should probably end here. And now the question becomes, you know, what else might you see from this, right? Because you look at the way that things have been developing, and you know, look at the way that maybe, you know, Kendrick's been moving, Drake's been moving. So in the near future, let's say within the next month or so, what do you think we see from both camps? Do you think maybe we see some Lucy's, maybe a feature disc? Like, where do you think they both go from now on?
I feel like a lot of people are forgetting right now that Drake obviously went to war with Kendrick, but he also went to war with a large part of the industry. And I feel like there's still some unfinished business between certain rappers and Drake. Looking at like an A$AP Rocky who's slated to drop a new album this year. I mean, what happens if he drops a diss track on that record and it goes viral? For some reason, he ends up fucking smoking him. For whatever reason. Or maybe Rick Ross decides to hop out the gate again and throw something out there. I just feel like it's going to be interesting to see how Drake moves and navigates across this whole swarm of disses that might be coming at him, because I feel like there's so much animosity between Drake and a lot of people within the industry that it's going to be a case of either he doesn't give it attention and sort of just like falls back, or he sets his sight on a couple of different battles, so at least he could pull some W's out of this whole situation. So I think that's something that we need to sort of have our attention on, is the fact that even though Kendrick might be done because, you know, in terms of a rap battle, he buried him already, but what about everybody else? So do you think that could be a case where there's other battles that are ignited to some degree?
I think Drake would probably anticipate this sort of stuff happening. You know, I don't think he's a dumb dude, and I think he understands what's going on. I just feel like at this point, there's been already so much battling and there's been so much animosity over the past month and a half. Like you said, summer vibes up next, so he's maybe cooking up something. And that's maybe what I want to talk about next, is what's next for Drake, right? Because you look at, let's say, the way that this whole conversation has been going, people are obviously furious with Drake. There's been a lot of stuff happening, and, you know, Drake has been in this sort of like, I'd say, negativity zone as of late. And I feel like for him, probably the attention right now goes to him dropping something this summer, especially after finding out what we did with his new IG story. So let me ask you this. Do you think it's a smart play for him to come back so soon after, let's say, a massive defeat like this, and then drop right away in the summer and give us summer vibes, quote unquote? Do you think that's the best move possible?
I mean, it's tough just because, you know, if you're in Drake's position right now, I feel like a break could be to your detriment, in the sense of like Drake's whole strategy throughout his career has been being the dominant guy, being outside every year, being the guy who's, top of every playlist, who's getting all the radio play year in, year out. But now it's reached an interesting point where a lot of people are not only exhausted of Drake's more recent albums and his output not being as high level as it once was dating back 10 years ago, but the other issue becomes is that 2024 in this era of Drake is going to be plagued by the fact that he got bodied by Kendrick Lamar in a rap battle. And I think that no matter what music he ends up dropping within this era, he's going to get clowned. He is going to get clowned by the internet. I think that even though there's a whole other population of people, like, for example, the 20-year-old girls that love Drake's music, that go out and want to hear him in the club and play him in their cars, they're not going to give a fuck about this battle. So in that sense, sure, he can come out with some summer bops and it's going to be all fine and dandy. But I think that what's also interesting is that if Drake does take this route of making, more passion fruit type records, he's going to be looked at as, wow, Kendrick Lamar bullied you into going back into the R&B bag, the same way that he rapped on Euphoria. I like Drake with the melodies, right? Like it's almost like a lose-lose for him in the sense of like public perception when it comes to this. But let me ask you that, like, you as a fan, would you rather Drake falls back? Would you rather get like some summer bops? Where's your head at with this?
I said this after For All the Dogs, when we ended up calling the album mediocre and we didn't give it a good review, right? You and I felt like the album was lacking in quality. I still feel like that studio album is lacking in quality. And I feel like it's been a long time since we've gotten a really concise Drake record that feels focused, feels very passionate. It feels like, he's really into the studio experience himself, if you get what I'm trying to say. On that note, I think he should take a break probably. But okay, let's flip the coin, right? Because there's a double-edged sword here. Right now, regardless of the way that you look at it, there's always the saying, all press is good press, right? And Drake's name is hot as fuck right now, especially in the media. So is that a tactic you take and you look at it and you're like, oh, well, obviously, there's a lot of negativity going on, but who knows what the narratives are going to be maybe in 3 to 4 months from now. And now you could take all that and you could probably get your number one in the Hot 100 again and probably have anthems ring off. So it's a very interesting situation because it's very risky in whichever area you go into, right? Because you take that hiatus, that's something that's never been done before in Drake's career. He's been consistently dropping since 2015. And you look at, let's say, the other side of it where he drops again. And it's like you said, obviously the core hip-hop community and the online fandom are going to attack him, but at the same time, he has a lot bigger of a community than just that. So it's interesting to see the way that he's going to navigate, but I still stand on my opinion from last year that he should probably take some time and maybe craft something that's a bit more meticulous, right? And I'm not saying to take a 5-year hiatus. I don't think anyone wants to see that from Drake.
The industry would suffer if he did that.
Absolutely, because obviously he's such a big, mover and he does so much and he is pop culture at this point, especially for hip hop. But when you look at the output of what you're getting from Drake at this point in time, I think it would be a smart move to be able to craft something that's concise, that's tastefully thought out, and something that's really going to push the needle again. Because even looking at For All the Dogs, right? As much as there was records on there that got really good streams or, even having a number 1 and a number 2 hit single on the Hot 100, that album didn't push the needle. That album came and it low-key went.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest with you. Yes, maybe you hear certain songs being played at festivals or within clubs, but you can't tell me that that record is even hitting on the level of a Scorpion, for example, not even at the top tier of his discography. So that's what I want to ask you. Like, what do you think he should do in this situation from a fan's perspective?
From a fan's perspective, right now, Drake is going to have to be looking over his shoulder, right? There might be more Kendrick disses on a new Kendrick album, which we're going to speak about in a little bit. There might be, again, people like A$AP Rocky, Rick Ross, Kanye West throwing shots at him. So if I'm Drake right now, I'm scoping the field. I'm being very observant of what's happening, and I'm not dropping fucking anything. I'm going to see if I want to pop out, if I need to, if someone really attacks me and I feel like I can take them on and not further humiliate myself in a battle, then I might, pop out. If not, I'm taking a year break and coming back with, another Drake album that hopefully is more focused in a year's time from now. But what I think that he might do, to play devil's advocate against both of our arguments, I mean, when he lost the battle to Pusha T in 2018, what does he do a month later? He comes out with Scorpion. He breaks streaming records, has #1 hits, and sort of keeps his head held up high and has the world singing Kiki, Do You Love Me? So, I mean, on that token, it's like maybe Drake can still be able to exist and produce music in this climate and get all the attention that he probably wants to see come out of it. That being said, I think a big fatal flaw within that album was that it was too little too late, right? You got like a bunch of subliminal disses against Pusha T, and that's something that I stand firmly against. Is I don't want to hear any subs against Kendrick. I don't want to hear any afterthoughts from Drake, because you had that chance while the battle was hot to sort of be in the ring with him and shoot at him. Now it's done with, bro. We don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to hear more bars like, and I'm not two, top 5 and I'm not 2 and I got 1. I don't want to hear that anymore, bro.
Yeah, but he's going to obviously talk his shit, and he's going to do his thing.
But it's not going to be received the same way.
I know, but do you look... So, obviously, it's
But this is also not Pusha T. Now you're facing Kendrick, who has #1 records. It's a bit harder to ignore now.
That is harder to ignore. You can't be using the numbers game in here. But just to be able to even play a bit of devil's advocate on that side, it's like, do you... Like, who wants to hear a submissive and passive Drizzy? That's the thing, right?
So
like,
you want to hear subs on the next record?
It's not subs. I wouldn't want to hear subs, but I just wouldn't want to get a deflated Drizzy album. Like, I just don't want him to, like...
Never said that.
Yes, but like, where is he going to go? If you can't be confident and you can't be talking your shit, what are you going to do? Like, what area and what material are you going to be able to bring into this album? That's why I think...
Maybe it's time for an evolution from Drake.
Well, evolutions take time. You can't be doing an evolution.
It's been a lot of time since the last evolution, I would say.
Dude, well, when was the last evolution that you really saw from Drake? Was it maybe more life?
Okay, let me rephrase. You could say Honestly Never Mind was a sonic evolution. I mean more like maturity as an evolution within the pen.
It's tough.
Getting more records about like just life. You know what I mean? Like you can give me a Lemon Pepper freestyle where you're being introspective about like your legacy and your life, or even a Vital type record where you're not going at your foes. You don't need to put out that kind of shit.
There, but the problem is that the Drake is in such a different position in his career than everyone else is. He can't afford to drop a 444 just because, like you said, you're gonna have those 20-year-old girls going to the club wanting to hear some like Flights Booked, and then you're gonna have the mommies going to work out with their trainers wanting to hear some like other material, right? So it's like, where does he cater to, right? Because then you're blocking off a major portion of your market, and then it becomes very hard and challenging to be able to do that. Plus, you have a lot of people that are already criticizing, let's say, albums like CLB that are a lot more love-centric, that are a lot more, let's say, romantically focused. It's hard for him to be able to navigate. That's why I think you gotta wait till the smoke settles, and you gotta be able to just like take the year off. Even at that, like, this is not necessarily even a year off for Drake. He just went through a month and a half of battling, and he dropped like low-key 3 records. So it's really not that deep.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. Even if you, let's say, want to drop a little pack at the end of the year, that's fine. But I think for a full-length studio album, that should be that should be waited on. But let's talk about Kendrick Lamar. Speaking about studio albums, it's a big elephant in the room for everyone, right? Because the West Coast has never been more alive. I have a lot of friends on the West Coast that are saying that this is one of the most glorious times in hip-hop history for them. Everyone's bumping these records. Everyone's looking at Kendrick Lamar once again like the savior, and that he brought that feeling back to the West Coast. With that being said, Kendrick Lamar did that probably of 4 or 5 tracks. Imagine a whole studio album. So I don't think it's like there's no better time to drop. There is legitimately no better time to drop. Because even at that, this whole battle can now play into Kendrick's favor, where people are going to be asking themselves, fuck, is he going to diss him again? Right? And then think about the population of people that are going to go to the album just for that. Then you're going to have people that are like, well, I haven't gotten a Kendrick Lamar studio album experience in 2 years. I want to go back into that. You're going to have the hip-hop nerds that are going to want to go back like you and I and be like, the fuck did he do this time concept-wise? So I feel like there's so much intrigue and there's so much... I would say steam around Kendrick right now that if he drops that studio album, it's GG's. It's genuinely, and Not Like Us is beating fucking streaming records. It is beating streaming records, Hot 100 records. It's over.
It's
those records are crazy.
It's like the most played song in the US. It's the most played song in Canada. It's the most played song in fucking Toronto now. If you go deep into the Spotify analytics, like this song is really taking on the whole world. And at the time of this recording, the Not Like Us video is not out. that's going to be out at some point, and it's going to be the fucking biggest music video of the entire year, without a doubt. Kendrick is coming off the heels of having 2 #1 records that are diss records. I feel like when it comes to Kendrick and his name being in the conversation of releasing albums, his name is always going to be scorching hot, but it's never going to be as hot as it is right now because he just won this fucking battle. In terms of mainstream success, there's more lights and attention on him than there's ever been, and I feel like it would be stupid for Kendrick Lamar not to drop an album in 2024 because he can right now orchestrate one of the most dominant years that we've ever seen for a rapper in the history of this shit.
Yeah.
In history. And I feel like he needs to make his Stillmatic right now. He needs to take his victory lap. He needs to pop his shit. He needs some bars like, why would you question who's better? The world is still mine. I'm not saying that I absolutely need more disses at Drake. If we get them, it'll be fun. I'm here for it. But just give us that album where you're popping your shit, you're claiming the throne, and people are going to fucking love it, bro. Just because we haven't gotten an album like that in terms of tone and energy since Damn, and look what that did, bro. That was his most successful album to date.
Absolutely. And there was pop appeal to that record, but at this point, it's like, do you even need those pop attempts on this record, knowing like what your previous records just did this year with those #1 placements? People want to hear rap again.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar brought that back, and I feel like, especially what Denzel Curry said on Twitter, that, the one thing that we ended up getting from this beef is that people are paying attention to lyrics again. So even the climate in which we are in, it would be a huge favor to hip-hop if Kendrick Lamar came out with a studio album, because it's going to get everyone excited about lyrics again. And I feel like, looking at Mr. Morale, obviously, people are kind of split on that album. For us, you guys know how we feel about it. We think it's an amazing record. We celebrate it all the time. I think there's fantastic records off of that track list. But I think that in this point in time, you could drop a record that will have that unanimous decision around the industry where it's like, man, this is an album of the year contender. Because another thing that people want to see, that I feel like people also had a criticism about with Mr. Morale, was that they felt like maybe Kendrick was a bit passive on the record, where he didn't necessarily want the throne, where it was like I'm not your savior type of energy. And that was fine. That's what he was feeling at the time. But that was a criticism that you had about the record, where you were like, bro, I know what this guy's capable of. He could absolutely slay everyone. And lo and behold, you were right. Look what happened in 2024. So to be able to see Kendrick Lamar on that type of energy, to be able to even get more aggression that you had gotten, let's say, off of a Damn, which is a big personal favorite for a lot of different fans within the industry, I think it would be a huge W for everyone.
I think it'd be a missed opportunity if he doesn't do it. I mean, honestly, if he just takes the basis of a song like The Jig Is Up and like makes that sort of like what the album feels like and sounds like, fucking throw on a J. Cole produced track on there too for the fucks of it. I mean, it could really be game changing.
Even like, let's say like a West Side Right on Time type of vibe, where like you're making like these West Coast bangers, and now the Sonics, like that Mustard beat is going crazy and that rhythm is really back again. And I feel like,
get Mike Will again, get Mustard, like get the right people in the studio, bro.
Absolutely. DJ Dahi working on the project, get Soundwave again, like just making this feel like a big championing moment for the West Coast, like a Schoolboy Q feature, getting the TDE members back. Like, this could really be it. And I feel like if this is the direction that he goes into, man, it's even good for Baby Keem, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's good for everyone. It's good for everyone on that coast, and honestly, it's good for everyone in hip hop. It really is. Imagine
the statement it makes if it outsells an album like For All the Dogs. That would be that would be
fucking
crazy.
Huge.
That would be, and he's in reach, bro. You don't think he could do over 400 right now?
Right now in this climate, I think so.
I think he could do over 400.
I think in this climate, especially with the way that this record is hitting mainstream appeal, I think it would be stupid not to do that, and it would create the same narratives as it did in 2017, where it was like, Damn outsold More Life.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to have some serious competition talks, But okay. Let's talk about the battle rap world, right? Because obviously there's a different dynamic to this. Everyone's been talking about, the content matter. Everyone's been talking about, Kendrick's win, whatever the case may be. But let's talk about it from a battle rap perspective, all right? Let's start off with Kendrick, since we were talking about Kendrick. How do you think the battle rap world looks at Kendrick right now?
I think that, he lived up to the boogeyman persona. And, I have to admit it, I ended up doubting it at one point because I was impatient for the record. But deep down, like at the beginning of the whole battle, I feel like a lot of us felt like Kendrick was obviously the front runner. He was the guy who was lyrically the sharpest out of the three, maybe aside from J. Cole, who you could have put into that conversation alongside him. But it just felt like, there were question marks, right? It's his first time ever battling. Is he going to be able to really go through with this and get the job done? And he did. So I feel like he definitely, doubled down on that persona. And I feel like he is probably the most feared rapper in hip hop right now. I don't foresee anyone challenging him. This might be his only rap battle. And at the end of the day, even if that's how it ends up, that's how it all goes down, that'll be okay because he took down one of the biggest gladiators when it comes to the rap battle sport. Now, as far as Drake goes within this conversation, I no longer view him as a titan in battle rap just because the 2 times that he truly faced the big boys, the real guys that know how to work a pen, the Pusha T's and the Kendrick Lamars of the world, he came off not calculated, not strategic, and it's almost like a Conor McGregor trajectory where it's like at one point you're viewed as this invincible figure in a sport, and then after, fights from, Nate Diaz and let's say Khabib, people start to notice that you have certain weaknesses in your fighting style, and that sort of label of being this feared entity kind of vanishes, and now it opens up opportunity for other rappers to go at him even more so.
Yes, absolutely. I think maybe even J. Cole's in this same boat right now. When it comes to battle rap,
Yeah.
I think they should just stay away.
Yeah. I agree.
Just stay away. And it's not a bad thing. Some of the best rappers of all time weren't battle rappers, and I don't think that it hurts my placements of them within my all-time ranking lists. Obviously it's a taint in the armor. It's something that you could be like, well, you guys in the context of battle rap fucked this up, but at the same time, it's like there's other things to concentrate on when looking at this. And I feel like from a battle rap perspective, I don't think anyone wants to see Drake go back into the ring, for some time being. And I feel like that's a smart move for him to do, right? It's just that then every record that's going to come out, you automatically have the public perception against you.
Yeah.
No one's going to give a fuck. People are going to be like, well, why am I going to pay attention to this opponent if when it came to a Pusha T or a Kendrick Lamar, you weren't able to deliver on that front? And I think that's completely valid. And that is a valid opinion to have at this point. And that's an opinion that I share. It's like, yes, okay, Meek Mill's cool.
It's not Pusha T.
It's not Pusha T and it's not Kendrick Lamar. And I feel like also when you look at this whole situation, one thing that I didn't enjoy, let's say from this battle, was just regardless of the quality of the records, he didn't move as calculated as he could have.
Yeah.
He was moving on everyone else's time. Same thing with Pusha T. And it was interesting to see the way that Kendrick manipulated this whole situation with him, because he had to always play on Kendrick's time. So even when you look at it outside of the lyrics or outside of the records, it just didn't make sense anywhere. And I feel like when you talk about Drake in battle rap right now, yes, he had his run in the 2010s. Yes, it was cool to see him go against rappers like Meek Mill and take some W's, but it hasn't been the greatest, let's say, bow out, if I could say it like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a positive record anymore. If you really think about it, sure, you can count the Common, Scruffle and like the whole Tory Lanez thing, but those were in real battles, like track for track. So 3 battles, 1 win, 2 losses at this point. And now the question becomes, how will they be perceived differently going forward? I feel like for Kendrick, he's only going to get, more flowers. He's only going to get more medals tossed around his neck now. And I feel like what it does change is that when it comes to that big 3 debate, you and I always believed and always debated that we both thought that Kendrick was at the top of that pyramid. But now there's not even an argument to be had anymore. I think that when you look at it, he's the one that came out on top. He put it out into the air that, like, I want to challenge for the belt, and he won.
He got it.
And until we see another battle, which we probably never will at this point, when it's been done, it's over with. So I think that's how it affects Kendrick. And as for Drake goes, again, I feel like that idea of, like, we like Drake for the melodies, Drake's a great pop star, that's going to be amplified now. And I feel like within the hip-hop space, he is going to lose respect for the long term from a lot of the people in the community. And I'm still always going to be, down for timestamp Drizzy and certain rap records, but it does change the way that hip hop heads will perceive him. I
Oh,
feel
for sure.
like.
You look at the community discourse, you already know what's going on with that, right? The podcasters decided, the Twitter fingers decided, everyone decided, right? That I feel like it's valid. This is the sport. This is battle rap. You know what you're getting yourself into, and you know how vicious public perception could be, especially within hip hop. And it's completely valid to have that opinion because the whole world, saw Kendrick really bring his A game against Drake and took the W in this situation. So you can't tell yourself otherwise. And I feel like maybe we could have a different conversation in a year from now, depending on how the dust will settle. But I think that that's my opinion as of today, at the time of this recording, that Kendrick Lamar should be dropping an album. People are going to champion it. Imagine they give rap song of the year at the Grammys to Not Like Us.
They could, bro. It
That
would be
would
the first time a diss record wins a Grammy, and he needs to make this victory lap album, bro. It would be such a missed opportunity if he does.
Imagine he
do
gets
it.
Not Like Us, like Grammy win. Imagine that happens. That would
That'd be nuts.
That would be monumental. It wouldn't even make sense. And of course, we know how Drake has always kind of advocated against the Grammys. I feel like those guys are over there like, ooh, we could do something here.
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. Imagine that comes true.
Like, I'm telling you, yes, absolutely. That could genuinely happen. So, listen, guys, before we end this off, I just want to personally thank everyone that took part in this coverage with us, everyone that stayed by our side, whether you guys roasted us, whether you guys agreed with our takes, just you guys coming into these videos really means the world for us. We have a load of cool shit coming on the way. Merchandise is in the works. If you guys are watching this maybe months after this, maybe you guys have bought your first NFR hoodie, whatever the case may be.
Fuck yeah.
Crazy fucking interviews may be coming. That's a big thing for the platform as well. Live shows. Like, I just want to put that out there that we're working on a bunch of different projects outside of this. And as I mentioned, we just really appreciate everyone. Like, you guys came into this for us. We love you guys, and we really appreciate you. So with that being said, if this is your first time watching NFR, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to keep up with all of our uploads. We love you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.